Imagine walking into a room, and every eye turns to you, not because of what you wear or the confidence you try to fake, but because of the way you speak, the way you connect, the way you make people feel seen. Now imagine the opposite, sitting silently at a table, your ideas bubbling inside, your voice trapped by hesitation, leaving you invisible, misunderstood, or dismissed. That tension, the space between connection and isolation, is what this audiobook is about. Because the truth is, communication is not just words, it is energy, it is presence, it is the bridge between who we are and who we want to become. Whether you want to build stronger relationships, succeed in your career, or simply be understood without struggle, mastering the art of communication will change everything. By the end of this journey, you will not just speak, you will connect. You will not just listen, you will understand, and you will not just communicate, you will inspire. Welcome, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Invisible Power of Words. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in a room full of people. You open your mouth to speak, and the air itself seems to shift. Every ear leans in, not because of what you wear or the confidence you pretend to have, but because your words carry weight. They carry life. They carry truth. And in that moment, you are not just heard, you are felt. Now imagine the opposite. The same room, the same energy, but this time your voice falters. You hesitate. You choose the wrong word. Or worse, you say nothing at all. You feel the isolation creep in, like a shadow. Your ideas, your thoughts, your truths, they remain locked inside, and the world, oblivious, moves on without you. This is the power of words. Silent, invisible, yet devastatingly real. Each word we speak is a seed. Some seeds bloom into understanding, trust, and connection. Others wither into miscommunication, misunderstanding, or even conflict. Words are not mere tools. They are the architects of our relationships, the scaffolding of our influence, and the pulse of our presence in the world. It may sound simple, just speak, just listen, but the truth is more profound. Every conversation, every comment, every sentence has the ability to shape reality. Think of the last time someone's words lifted you unexpectedly. How a compliment, a single acknowledgement, a moment of true recognition changed the course of your day. Now think of the last time words cut you to the bone, lingered long after they were spoken, or planted doubt in your mind. That is the invisible power of words. But here's what most people don't realize. We rarely wield this power consciously. We speak without awareness, react without thought, and listen without truly hearing. And yet the moment we step into conscious communication, everything changes. Relationships deepen, doors open, influence grows, opportunities appear where none existed before. The foundation of effective communication is understanding this truth. Before you learn any technique, before you memorize phrases or study strategies, you must recognize that words are alive. They are not neutral. They carry energy, intention, and consequence. And when we treat them as such, we step into a form of mastery that few ever achieve. To grasp this, let me share a story. A man once walked into a team meeting, frustrated and tense. He had been misunderstood repeatedly and felt invisible, but instead of lashing out, he paused. He chose his words carefully, speaking with clarity, honesty, and calm presence. Within minutes, the room shifted. Colleagues leaned in, tension dissolved, ideas flowed, and in that brief exchange, the man didn't just communicate, he transformed the energy of the entire team. That is what conscious communication can do. It is not about being perfect. It is not about impressing others. It is about being intentional, present, and aware of the subtle currents that flow beneath every conversation. Your words are not just sounds. They are vibration. They ripple through space, touching emotions, shaping thoughts, and influencing actions. And yet communication is not just about speaking. It begins with listening, truly listening, not listening to reply, not listening to correct, but listening to understand, to hear the unspoken, to sense the emotions beneath the words, to catch the pauses, the hesitations, the subtle inflections that reveal what someone truly feels. Because the most powerful words are not the ones you speak. They are the ones you honor in others. By embracing the invisible power of words, you begin to see a fundamental truth. Connection is not given. It is cultivated. Influence is not demanded. It is earned. Trust is not automatic. It is built, moment by moment, sentence by sentence, interaction by interaction. And every interaction is an opportunity to plant a seed of understanding, empathy, and clarity. This chapter is not just about learning how to speak better. It is about awakening to the responsibility and opportunity inherent in every conversation. You are not just a speaker or a listener. You are a weaver of connection, a shaper of perception, a carrier of influence. Every word matters, every pause matters, every breath you take in dialogue carries weight. So, as we begin this journey, I invite you to step into awareness. Notice your words. Notice the energy they carry. Notice the spaces between them. Begin to observe how people respond, not just in what they say, but in how they feel. This is the foundation of every skill, strategy, and insight you will encounter in this audiobook. And remember, mastery does not come from rushing. It comes from presence. It comes from reflection. It comes from understanding that every conversation is an opportunity to create meaning, connection, and trust. When you embrace this, the journey of communication transforms from a series of exchanges into a pathway of growth, both for yourself and for everyone you touch. As you carry this understanding forward, imagine the doors that can open when you speak with awareness, when you listen with intent, when your words are aligned with clarity and empathy. You are standing at the threshold of something remarkable. And in the next chapter, we will dive even deeper into the art of listening, into hearing not just words, but the life behind them, and the profound impact it has on every relationship and every success you seek. Because connection begins with listening, and listening well is the first secret of true communication. Chapter 2: Listening Beyond the Surface. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, watching the water flow. At first glance, it seems simple, just water moving. But look closer, and you notice the currents beneath, the stones shaping its path, the reflection of the sky above, the depth that isn't immediately visible. Conversation is like that river. Most of us only see the surface. We hear the words, and we respond. But the true currents, the emotions, the intentions, the unspoken truths, remain hidden, waiting for someone to notice. Listening is more than hearing. It is a deliberate act of presence, a quiet attentiveness that reaches beneath the surface of sound. And yet, it is one of the most overlooked skills in human connection. We often listen to reply, to react, to assert our perspective, rather than to understand the person in front of us. But when we listen with real attention, the world shifts. A conversation stops being a transaction and becomes an exchange of understanding, trust, and authenticity. Consider a moment from your own life, a time when someone truly listened. Maybe it was a friend who let you speak without interrupting, a colleague who heard your hesitation without judgment, or a loved one who noticed the pain behind your casual words. Remember the weight that lifted from your chest, the relief that someone saw the invisible part of you. That is the power of listening beyond the surface. Listening deeply requires intention. It begins with silence, not just the absence of words, but the presence of focus. To truly hear someone, we must quiet our own thoughts, our judgments, our urge to respond immediately. In that silence, we create a space where the other person feels seen, valued, and understood. It is in this space that connection is born. But listening is not passive. It is active, attentive, and alive. Watch for subtle signs. the inflection in their voice, the tension in their shoulders, the flicker of emotion in their eyes. These are the hidden currents beneath the spoken word. Responding to them requires empathy, awareness, and courage. The courage to acknowledge what is real, even if it is uncomfortable. Let me share a story. A young manager once found herself frustrated with her team. Meetings felt shallow, discussions surface level, and she struggled to get to the heart of the issues. One day she decided to change her approach. She stopped preparing responses in advance, stopped rushing through agendas, and simply listened. She asked questions, waited for answers, noticed pauses, and reflected back what she heard. Within weeks, her team began to open up. Solutions appeared, tensions eased, and trust grew. By listening deeply, she didn't just hear, she transformed the dynamic of her entire team. This story illustrates a vital truth. Listening is transformative. It is not just a skill to make conversation smoother. It is the foundation of connection, the pathway to influence, and the seed of authentic relationships. When we listen fully, we honor the person in front of us. We invite them to be real, to share honestly, and to engage without pretense. Listening also requires humility. We must accept that we do not know everything about the other person's experience, and that our assumptions can be wrong. When we suspend judgment and remain curious, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of people and situations. Curiosity allows us to see the world through another's eyes, to feel what they feel, and to respond with insight rather than instinct. Another essential aspect of listening is emotional resonance. Words carry information, but emotion carries truth. A statement like "I'm fine" can mean everything or nothing, depending on the emotion behind it. Listening to that emotion, noticing the discrepancy between words and feeling, is what separates superficial hearing from meaningful understanding. It is the ability to sense what is unspoken that creates trust, connection, and profound influence. Practice is essential. Start by giving undivided attention in small conversations. Listen without interrupting, without planning your response, without letting your mind wander. Notice the tone, the cadence, the unspoken signals. Reflect back what you hear. Ask questions not to challenge, but to understand. These moments of conscious listening, repeated over time, develop a sensitivity that transforms every interaction into an opportunity for genuine connection. And remember, listening is not about being perfect. It is about being present, open, and sincere. Sometimes, listening means sitting in silence with someone's pain. Sometimes, it means asking a question you're afraid to ask. Sometimes it means holding space without offering solutions. Each of these actions sends a powerful message. I see you, I hear you, you matter. By embracing listening as an active, intentional practice, you step into a new dimension of communication. Words become more meaningful because they are received with awareness. Relationships deepen because they are nurtured by understanding. Influence grows because trust has been earned through presence and attention. As you reflect on this, imagine the conversations in your life transforming. Picture yourself engaging, not just with the words of others, but with their truth. Feel the depth of connection possible when you listen beyond the surface, when you see what is invisible, when you honor the currents beneath the words. The journey of communication is not about talking more. It is about listening better. And as you step into this awareness, you prepare to explore the next essential layer of connection: empathy. How do we not only hear the words and emotions of others, but truly feel them in a way that shapes our responses, strengthens bonds, and opens doors we never imagined? Listening well is the first bridge. Empathy is the path that follows. And in the next chapter, we will cross that path together, discovering how genuine empathy can transform every relationship, every dialogue, and every opportunity in your life. Because to connect deeply, influence meaningfully, and communicate effectively, you must first listen beyond the surface. Chapter 3. The Dance of Empathy. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a dance. Not the kind performed on a stage, but one that happens every day, silently, between people. Every conversation, every glance, every shared moment is a rhythm, a step, a movement that either draws us closer or pushes us apart. Empathy is the music beneath that dance, the subtle current that guides your steps, your tone, your heart. Without it, words may move, but connection falters. With it, even silence speaks volumes. Empathy is not sympathy. It is not feeling sorry for someone or solving their problems. Empathy is stepping into another person's world fully and intentionally, feeling what they feel, sensing what they sense, and honoring their experience without judgment. It is seeing through their eyes while staying grounded in your own presence. This is the heart of authentic communication, and it is where transformation begins. Think back to a moment when someone truly understood you, not superficially, but deeply. They recognized the tension behind your words, the hesitation in your choices, the hidden pain or joy that you had not spoken aloud. How did that feel? Liberating, validating, powerful. That is the effect of empathy. It gives people permission to be fully themselves, and it invites trust to grow in its wake. Yet, empathy is a practice, not a passive feeling. It requires attention, patience, and courage. It begins with curiosity, genuine curiosity about what another person is experiencing. Ask yourself, what is this moment like for them? What are they not saying? What is their fear, their hope, their longing? Then, hold that curiosity without rushing to judgment or advice. Let it guide your responses, your tone, your timing. Let me share a story. A teacher once noticed a student struggling quietly in the back of the classroom. Grades were slipping, energy low, and the student barely spoke. Most teachers saw the behavior and assumed disengagement, but this teacher decided to engage differently. She approached with empathy, not criticism, not pressure, but an open question. How are you really doing? That small act, grounded in presence and genuine interest, unlocked a conversation that revealed challenges at home, fears, and unspoken dreams. Within weeks, the student's confidence and performance transformed. Empathy changed the entire trajectory. Empathy is also a dance of timing and sensitivity. Too forceful, and it feels intrusive. Too distant, and it feels absent. The rhythm is subtle. Lean in with awareness. Respond with validation. Mirror feelings without overwhelming them. Often it is enough to acknowledge, to reflect, to simply say, I hear you, I see you, you are not alone. These words, spoken with authenticity, carry more weight than advice or solutions ever could. Another vital aspect of empathy is emotional resonance. When we connect with someone's feelings, we connect with the essence of their humanity. Their joy becomes our joy, their pain becomes our mirror. This does not mean losing ourselves, but it means engaging fully with the shared human experience. Empathy bridges the space between isolation and understanding. It transforms mere words into meaningful connection. Practicing empathy requires awareness of your own emotions too. We cannot fully sense another person's experience if we are disconnected from our own. Mindfulness, reflection, and emotional literacy allow us to approach others from a grounded place. The more attuned we are to ourselves, the more authentically we can attune to others. Empathy flows naturally when it arises from inner clarity and self-awareness. Empathy is also an act of courage. It asks us to step beyond our comfort zone, to encounter perspectives we might resist, to feel emotions we might prefer to avoid. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to acknowledge uncertainty, to accept that we may not have the answers, and to simply be present. This vulnerability is not weakness. It is the essence of human strength, and it is the foundation of transformative communication. Consider your relationships, the ones that feel most alive, most authentic. What is the common thread? Empathy, the ability to move beyond words, beyond judgments, beyond assumptions, and meet someone in the fullness of their experience. When empathy becomes your default mode of engagement, conflict diminishes, trust deepens, and connection flourishes. Empathy also shapes influence. People are drawn to those who understand them, who feel alongside them, who honor their experience. Leadership, persuasion, negotiation, these all become more powerful when grounded in empathy. Influence without empathy is hollow. Influence with empathy is magnetic. As we move forward in this audiobook, understand this: empathy is not an occasional skill. It is a way of being. It is the rhythm that turns conversation into connection, words into meaning, and interactions into lasting impact. Every dialogue becomes a dance, every connection an opportunity to move with grace, awareness, and heart. And as you carry this awareness forward, prepare to explore the next layer of communication, nonverbal cues. Because empathy does not exist only in words. It is woven into posture, gestures, tone, and presence. The next chapter will reveal how to read and project the subtle signals that speak even when words remain unspoken, unlocking a deeper level of understanding and influence in every relationship you touch. The dance of empathy is yours to learn. Step into it fully and let the rhythm guide the journey ahead. Chapter 4. The Art of Nonverbal Communication. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking into a room. Without a single word, without uttering a sound, you are already speaking. The way you carry yourself, the tilt of your head, the tension or ease in your shoulders, the warmth or distance in your eyes, all of it communicates. Nonverbal signals are the invisible language that shapes perception, influence, and connection long before words enter the conversation. In fact, often they speak louder than words ever could. Most people underestimate this silent language. They focus on what to say, how to phrase it, which arguments to prepare, while neglecting the unspoken cues that either reinforce or undermine their message. A firm handshake can convey confidence or arrogance. A smile can disarm suspicion or mask indifference. A pause can signal thoughtfulness or uncertainty. Every gesture, posture, and glance carries meaning, consciously or not. Nonverbal communication is more than body language. It is energy. It is presence. It is the invisible thread that connects two minds and hearts before a single word is spoken. When mastered, it can turn a simple conversation into a compelling experience, a fleeting encounter into a lasting impression, and a difficult discussion into a bridge of understanding. Consider a leader you have admired, someone whose words felt magnetic, whose presence felt effortless. Much of that impact came not from their vocabulary, but from how they held themselves. Their gestures were measured, their posture open, their tone consistent with intention. Every movement reinforced trust, authority, and authenticity. That is the quiet power of nonverbal communication. Let me share a story. A young professional once attended a job interview and felt underprepared for the question. But she was conscious of her posture, her eye contact, and the way she projected calmness through her breathing. Though her answers were modest, the interviewer responded with enthusiasm. The message she sent with her body, with her presence, conveyed confidence, composure, and credibility, far beyond the words themselves. She did not need to be perfect. She needed to align her presence with her intent. Nonverbal communication also includes the subtle art of mirroring. Humans are wired to respond to similarity, to reflectiveness. When we subtly mirror the posture, gestures, or tone of the person we are speaking with, we create an unconscious sense of trust and rapport. It is not manipulation, it is empathy in motion. It signals connection before anything is articulated, and it reinforces the sense that we are seen, understood, and valued. Another layer of nonverbal communication lies in micro-expressions, the fleeting, involuntary flashes of emotion that cross the face. A brief tightening of the jaw, a fleeting smile, a quick glance away, all reveal what the other person is truly feeling. Learning to notice these subtle cues allows us to respond with authenticity and care, bridging the gap between spoken words and true understanding. Breath, tone, and pacing also belong to this silent language. A hurried speech conveys stress or uncertainty. A calm, steady voice conveys control and thoughtfulness. Pauses are more powerful than most words. They allow space for reflection, for the other person to absorb meaning, and for connection to deepen. Your voice is part of your body's nonverbal signature. When aligned with your words, it amplifies clarity, credibility, and influence. Nonverbal communication is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about alignment between what you feel, what you intend, and what you project. When these elements are synchronized, people not only hear you, they trust you, they feel you, and they respond to you naturally. Empathy, which we explored in the previous chapter, becomes even more potent when paired with nonverbal awareness. You cannot fully empathize if you ignore the signals your counterpart is sending. Their posture, facial expressions, and energy all reveal dimensions of their experience that words alone cannot. When you observe these cues and respond with presence and sensitivity, the connection becomes deeper, richer, and more transformative. Nonverbal communication also shapes perception in ways we rarely consider. People often remember how a conversation felt more than the content of what was said. A warm smile, a respectful pause, a steady gaze. These subtle choices linger in memory far longer than clever phrasing or persuasive arguments. Presence, in its purest form, communicates trust, confidence, and integrity. As you reflect on your own life, think about the interactions that left a lasting impact. Were they the ones filled with words alone, or the ones where presence, energy, and subtle gestures conveyed understanding, attention? Nonverbal communication is the bridge between intention and perception, the invisible thread that turns ordinary exchanges into meaningful encounters. Mastering it requires practice. Begin by observing yourself and others. Notice your posture, gestures, and expression. Check for alignment between what you feel, what you intend to communicate, and what your body is projecting. Observe the responses of others, the shift in energy, the engagement, the trust that emerges or fades. Subtle adjustments, repeated consistently, cultivate a presence that resonates deeply and authentically. And remember, this mastery is not about controlling others. It is about being fully present with them, expressing your truth through every movement, breath, and glance. When aligned with clarity, empathy, and emotional awareness, your nonverbal presence becomes a powerful vehicle for connection, influence, and trust. As you step forward from this chapter, prepare to explore clarity, the principle that ensures every word, gesture, and action lands exactly as intended. Because presence alone is powerful, but clarity transforms influence into impact. The next chapter will guide you in speaking with precision, removing ambiguity, and making every communication intentional, effective, and unforgettable. Nonverbal cues are your silent language. Clarity is your spoken language. Together, they form the foundation for mastery and communication, shaping not just how people hear you, but how they feel, trust, and respond. Chapter 5. Clarity is king. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads. The paths stretch out before you, each one leading to a different destination. Now imagine someone hands you a map, but it's smudged, incomplete, filled with vague directions. You take the path, but you stumble. You hesitate. You wonder if you are heading in the right direction. Communication without clarity is exactly like that. Words without precision leave people confused, frustrated, and disconnected. Clarity is the map that guides understanding, the beacon that cuts through confusion, and the compass that aligns intention with impact. Too often we speak without clarity. We assume people will understand, or that our meaning is obvious. Yet misunderstandings occur, not because of malice, but because words were tangled, ambiguous, or misaligned with intent. A single unclear sentence can sow doubt, create tension, or obscure an opportunity. Clarity is not about speaking more. It is about speaking with intention, stripping away noise until every word serves a purpose. Imagine a conversation at work with a colleague who needs guidance. Just handle it however you think is best, you say. On the surface, it seems simple, but for the person receiving it, the message is vague, anxiety-inducing, and open to misinterpretation. Now imagine saying instead, please prioritize the client's top concern first. Review the report and submit your recommendations by 3 in the afternoon. Every word is precise, every instruction clear, every expectation explicit. Confusion vanishes. Action becomes effortless. That is the transformative power of clarity. Clarity begins within. You must first understand your own thoughts, intentions, and desired outcomes. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, what do I want the other person to understand? How can I convey this in the simplest, most direct way? When your internal map is precise, your words naturally follow with purpose and authority. But clarity is not cold or mechanical. It is alive, expressive, and human. Think of a storyteller whose tale flows effortlessly, not because it is complicated, but because every detail matters, every word resonates, and every pause deepens understanding. Clarity in communication is like storytelling. It guides the listener without overwhelming them, inviting comprehension, engagement, and trust. Another critical dimension of clarity is alignment. Your words, tone, and nonverbal cues must reinforce each other. Saying "I'm confident in your abilities" while avoiding eye contact or fidgeting sends a mixed message. Clarity emerges when your entire presence, voice, body, and intention is synchronized. People feel authenticity. They sense certainty. They trust not only what you say, but who you are. Clarity also requires courage. It is easier to speak vaguely, to hedge, to leave things open-ended. But clarity demands honesty, simplicity, and precision. It is about cutting through the fog of assumptions, euphemisms, and unnecessary embellishments. It is about giving people the truth they can act on, the guidance they can follow, and the understanding they deserve. Consider a manager giving feedback to an employee. Instead of saying, "Your performance needs improvement," clarity demands specifics. "Your last 3 reports contain data inconsistencies. Let's review the methodology and create a checklist to ensure accuracy going forward." Clear, actionable, and supportive. Misunderstandings vanish. Confidence grows. Relationships strengthen. Clarity is equally vital in personal life. In relationships, vague expressions of feeling, half-spoken intentions, or ambiguous promises create frustration and saying "I feel like we need to talk" leaves room for anxiety, interpretation, and misjudgment. Saying "I'd like to discuss our plans for the weekend tonight at 7 so we can decide together" eliminates confusion, fosters cooperation, and conveys respect. Words, when clear, become bridges rather than barriers. To cultivate clarity, begin with 3 practices. First, simplify. Remove filler, jargon, and unnecessary complexity. Second, structure. Organize thoughts in a logical sequence, guiding the listener naturally from one idea to the next. Third, confirm understanding. Ask questions, paraphrase, and ensure the message landed as intended. Repetition without redundancy reinforces clarity. Confusion dissipates when intention and comprehension align. Clarity also opens the door to creativity and influence. When people understand you fully, they can engage, respond, and contribute effectively. Ambiguity breeds hesitation. Clarity breeds action. Influence flows not through volume or authority, but through precise, intentional, and compelling communication. As you reflect, consider the conversations in your life where messages were muddled, assumptions were made, and outcomes faltered. Imagine replacing that uncertainty with precision, intention, and lucidity. Relationships flourish, work flows, trust deepens, decisions are made. Your presence carries weight because every word is intentional, every pause meaningful, every interaction aligned. Clarity is king because it transforms communication from a gamble into a craft. It turns words into instruments of understanding, actions into outcomes, and dialogue into connection. It is the foundation on which all other communication skills, empathy, listening, non-verbal awareness rest. Without clarity, influence falters. With clarity, even simple words become unforgettable. As you carry this understanding forward, prepare to explore the next layer of communication: emotional intelligence. Words, presence, and clarity matter, but without insight into the currents of emotion, both your own and others, true influence is limited. The next chapter will guide you through recognizing, understanding, and navigating emotions to create connection, trust, and impact at a deeper level. Clarity guides the path. Emotional intelligence illuminates it. Together they transform every conversation, every relationship, and every opportunity into something intentional, meaningful, and powerful. Chapter 6: Emotional Intelligence. Navigating the currents of connection. Close your eyes and imagine a river flowing through a dense forest. The water twists and turns, sometimes calm, sometimes rushing over rocks and obstacles. A skilled navigator doesn't resist the currents. They read them and anticipate them and move with them. Emotional intelligence is that navigation in human connection. It is the ability to sense, understand, and respond to the emotions swirling around you, your own and those of others, so that your relationships thrive instead of falter. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling feelings, either yours or theirs. It is about awareness, discernment, and intentional response. It begins with recognizing your own emotions, honestly, without judgment. How often do we react before we fully understand why we feel a certain way? A tight tone of voice, a snap of impatience, or a withdrawn posture often communicates more than our carefully chosen words. When you understand your emotional landscape, you gain the power to respond rather than react. Imagine a heated conversation with a colleague or loved one. Your instinct might be to defend, argue, or retreat. But emotional intelligence allows you to pause, notice the tension in your chest, the tightness in your jaw, the racing of your thoughts, and say silently to yourself, "This is my emotion. I can navigate it. I can guide it. I can respond with clarity." That pause, that moment of awareness, transforms the interaction. The river of emotion no longer sweeps you away. It becomes a channel you can move through with intention. Equally important is recognizing emotions in others. Every gesture, expression, and inflection carries a hidden message. A sigh, a quiver of the lip, or a fleeting glance can reveal vulnerability, frustration, or excitement. Emotional intelligence is the skill of reading these cues accurately and responding in a way that respects the other person's experience. It is not about manipulation. It is about attunement, empathy, and connection. Let me share a story. A project manager once noticed subtle signs of stress in her team during a critical deadline. Some team members were quiet, others unusually terse. Instead of pushing harder, She paused and addressed the emotions first. She acknowledged the pressure, offered support, and encouraged open communication. By recognizing the emotional currents early, she prevented burnout, maintained trust, and strengthened collaboration. Emotional intelligence turned a potential crisis into an opportunity for growth and unity. Emotional intelligence also includes the ability to manage the emotions of others without taking responsibility for them. People often expect you to fix their feelings or soothe their frustration. While compassion and empathy are important, emotional intelligence teaches you to set boundaries, respond with understanding, and guide conversations constructively, without absorbing or being consumed by their emotional state. It is the art of engagement without overwhelm. Another essential dimension is emotional regulation, your capacity to remain composed and intentional, even when emotions run high. A calm presence in moments of tension has a magnetic effect. People trust leaders who can navigate storms without panic. Friends and partners respond to those who offer stability rather than reaction. The strength of emotional intelligence is not suppression, it is mastery. It is the ability to feel fully, yet respond wisely. Self-awareness, empathy, and regulation combine to create emotional insight, the skill to anticipate how others may react, what they need to feel heard, and the subtle adjustments that foster trust. It is like reading the currents of that river, knowing when to steer, when to pause, and when to flow alongside. Those who cultivate this skill create conversations that resonate deeply, influence that feels natural, and relationships that endure. Emotional intelligence also amplifies the power of all the other communication skills we've explored: listening, empathy, non-verbal awareness, and clarity. Words are amplified when guided by emotional insight. Non-verbal cues are more meaningful when aligned with the emotional landscape. Listening is more transformative when it is informed by an understanding of feelings beneath the words. Clarity lands more effectively when emotions are acknowledged and integrated. Emotional intelligence is the connective tissue that makes communication authentic, resonant, and unforgettable. To develop this skill, begin with reflection. After each conversation, pause and ask, what emotions were present for me and for them? How did I respond? Did I notice cues I missed? Then practice attunement. Observe subtle shifts in tone, posture, and expression, and respond with curiosity rather than assumption. Finally, cultivate regulation. Practice breathing, pausing, and grounding yourself in the midst of emotional current. Over time, these habits transform interactions into meaningful exchanges rather than reactive encounters. Emotional intelligence also requires compassion toward yourself and toward others. We all experience moments of misunderstanding, frustration, or recognize that emotions are universal, and that connection deepens when approached with patience, empathy, and openness. Compassion bridges the gap between conflict and understanding, tension and trust. It allows us to navigate even the most turbulent conversations with grace. Imagine the possibilities if every interaction in your life were approached with emotional intelligence. Difficult conversations become opportunities for clarity. Conflicts become pathways to understanding. Relationships are strengthened, not weakened. Influence grows organically. Presence, clarity, and empathy align seamlessly with the currents of emotion. You do not merely communicate, you connect. You do not merely speak, you transform experiences. As you carry this awareness forward, prepare to explore the next critical layer of communication: conflict resolution. Emotional intelligence equips you to read, navigate, and influence emotions. But conflict introduces another dimension: the challenge of opposing needs, expectations, and perspective. The next chapter will guide you in turning potential tension into opportunity, disagreement into understanding, and challenge into connection. Emotional intelligence is the compass for every interaction. It is the rhythm beneath words, the clarity within presence, and the bridge that connects hearts and minds. With it, every conversation becomes purposeful, every connection meaningful, and every opportunity for growth profoundly. Chapter 7. Turning conflict into connection. Imagine a storm rolling across the horizon. The sky darkens, the wind picks up, and tension fills the air. Conflict in human relationships is much like that storm, unpredictable, intense, and capable of leaving devastation in its wake. Yet, within every storm lies opportunity. The question is not whether conflict will arise, it is how you navigate it. Can you turn the turbulence into clarity, connection, and growth? Can you transform friction into understanding? That is the art of conflict resolution. Conflict often triggers fear, defensiveness, and reactive behavior. We resist it because we associate it with discomfort, tension, or loss. But avoidance rarely resolves anything. Unspoken grievances fester, misunderstandings multiply, and relationships suffer quietly. The key is to approach conflict not as a battlefield, but as a bridge, a chance to deepen understanding, strengthen trust, and build connection that lasts. The first step is awareness. Recognize the emotions at play, both within yourself and in the other person. Notice the tightening in your chest, the quickened pulse, or the urge to defend. These are signals, not weaknesses. Acknowledge them internally, and allow yourself a pause before responding. Emotional intelligence, which we explored in the previous chapter, is your compass in this moment. It keeps you grounded, aware, and intentional rather than reactive. Equally important is understanding perspective. Conflict rarely exists in isolation. It emerges from differing needs, desires, and expectations. Take the time to see the situation through the eyes of the other person. Ask yourself, what are they feeling? Why might they be reacting this way? What fears or values are guiding their behavior? By stepping into their world, even briefly, you disarm tension and open the door to dialogue rather than dispute. Let me share a story. Two business partners faced a heated disagreement over strategy. Voices were raised, tempers flared, and deadlines loomed. Instead of escalating, one partner paused, acknowledged the tension, and said, "I hear your concerns and I want us to find a solution that works for both of us." By naming the emotions and expressing intent to collaborate, the energy shifted. The storm did not disappear, but it transformed into a constructive conversation, leading to a solution that strengthened their partnership rather than fractured it. Conflict resolution also demands clarity. Vague statements or assumptions only fuel misunderstanding. Speak with precision about your perspective, needs, and boundaries, while remaining open to hearing theirs. Use I statements instead of accusatory language. I feel concerned when deadlines are missed because it affects the team, rather than you never meet deadlines. Clarity removes ambiguity and reduces defensiveness, creating space for connection rather than confrontation. Active listening is another vital element. Truly listen, not to respond, but to understand. Repeat back what you hear, ask clarifying questions, and demonstrate that you are fully present. People do not remember every word you say in conflict, but they remember whether they felt heard. Listening transforms adversaries into collaborators and disagreements into dialogue. Conflict also offers an opportunity to practice empathy in its most powerful form. When tensions are high, emotions raw, and stakes elevated, meeting the other person with understanding and compassion is revolutionary. It is not about agreeing with them, nor is it about conceding your value. It is about honoring their humanity, acknowledging their feelings, and creating a space where solutions can emerge organically. Timing and space are equally crucial. Sometimes addressing conflict in the heat of the moment escalates tension. At other times, postponing it allows emotions to cool and reflection to occur. Emotional intelligence guides this choice. Observe the currents, sense the intensity, and decide when to engage, when to pause, and when to step back to preserve clarity and connection. Another subtle yet powerful tool is finding shared purpose. Even in disagreement, focus on common goals, shared values, or mutual outcomes. This reframes the conversation from opposition to collaboration, creating a mindset where solutions replace blame and understanding replaces resentment. Conflict becomes less about winning and more about connection, growth, and mutual respect. Let us not forget the importance of accountability. Effective conflict resolution requires owning your part, acknowledging mistakes, and being willing to apologize where appropriate. Humility in these moments does not diminish authority. It strengthens authenticity and trust. People respond not to perfection, but to honesty, integrity, and courage in the face of challenge. Conflict also teaches resilience. Each disagreement navigated with intention, empathy, and clarity builds the muscle for future encounters. It cultivates patience, strengthens emotional intelligence, and hones the ability to maintain presence under pressure. Relationships become more robust, communication more precise, and trust more resilient. Finally, remember that resolution is an ongoing process, not a single moment. Some conflicts require multiple conversations, reflection, and adjustment. Approach each step with curiosity and openness, not urgency or defensiveness. Transformation is not instantaneous. It is cultivated over time through consistent presence, clarity, and empathy. As you move forward from this chapter, recognize that conflict is not your enemy. It is a teacher. The storms of tension, misunderstanding, and disagreement carry lessons that deepen relationships, sharpen communication, and reveal the true strength of emotional intelligence in action. The next chapter will explore the power of influence, how to guide, inspire, and create impact while remaining authentic, empathetic, and emotionally intelligent. Conflict, when approached with skill and presence, transforms from a source of tension into a source of growth. It is the crucible in which connection is forged, understanding is deepened, and communication mastery emerges. The storms may come, but with awareness, clarity, and emotional insight, you can navigate them with grace, turning every challenge into an opportunity for meaningful connection. Chapter 8. The Power of Influence. Guiding without forcing. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a gentle river flowing through a valley. Its current is steady, calm, yet unstoppable. It does not push the banks violently, nor does it fight the rocks that appear in its path. Instead, it flows with intention, shaping the land over time, leaving impact without force. Influence in human relationships works in the same way. True influence is not about coercion, loud commands, or manipulation. It is about guiding others toward insight, decision, or action while respecting their autonomy. Influence is subtle, intentional, and profoundly powerful. Many people equate influence with authority or persuasion, but authentic influence is far more nuanced. It begins with presence. The ability to be fully seen, fully understood, and fully authentic. When people feel that your words and actions align with your values, they listen. They respect your perspective. They are willing to consider your ideas, not because you demanded attention, but because your clarity, integrity, and emotional awareness create trust. Influence is built on connection. Without trust, without understanding, without empathy, even the clearest advice falls on deaf ears. Take a moment to reflect on someone in your life whose words carry weight effortlessly. What makes them compelling is not volume or urgency. It is alignment. Their intentions, emotions, and words resonate. People follow because they feel understood, seen, and inspired, not coerced or pressured. To wield influence effectively, you must first understand the people you wish to guide. Observe their needs, motivations, and values. Listen more than you speak. Ask questions that open insight rather than close discussion. Influence is not a monologue. It is a conversation, a dance, an exchange of energy. When others sense that you genuinely comprehend their perspective, they are far more open to the ideas you present. Consider the art of storytelling. Stories are some of the most potent instruments of influence. They bypass resistance, evoke emotion, and leave lasting impressions. A well-told story does not command action. It allows the listener to arrive at their own conclusions, guided gently by the narrative. When we frame ideas in ways that connect with people's values, experiences, and aspirations, influence becomes natural, compelling, and deeply human. Another critical element of influence is credibility. Words alone are not enough. Actions must align with them. Promises kept, consistency demonstrated, integrity visible. All these create a foundation upon which influence stands. People do not trust abstract claims. They trust lived experience. Influence grows when your behavior and communication consistently reflect your principle. Equally important is emotional attunement. Influence is ineffective if delivered without sensitivity to the emotional climate. Notice tension, hesitation, or excitement. Adapt your tone, pace, and approach accordingly. Influence guided by emotional intelligence is not intrusive. It is responsive, supportive, and empowering. You meet people where they are, rather than where you wish them to be. Influence also requires patience. Change does not happen instantly. Minds and hearts do not shift because of a single conversation or argument. True influence plants seeds. It nurtures reflection, provides guidance, and allows growth to unfold organically. Impatience breeds pressure, defensiveness, and resistance. Patience transforms moments of dialogue into long-term impact. Let's reflect on a professional example. A leader sought to implement a new initiative across a resistant team. Instead of issuing mandates, they spent time understanding concerns, connecting the vision to each individual's priorities, and demonstrating through action the benefits of the approach. Slowly, skepticism gave way to curiosity, and curiosity evolved into commitment. Influence, when practiced with awareness and empathy, created alignment without force. In personal life, influence manifests similarly. You can inspire a friend to pursue a goal, guide a partner through a challenging decision, or nurture a child's curiosity without dictating, pressuring, or manipulating. Influence is about lighting a spark, providing perspective, and offering support while honoring their autonomy. It is both art and responsibility, subtle yet transformative. Language is a tool of influence, but tone, timing, and authenticity shape its effectiveness. Questions invite participation, affirmations foster trust. Reflective listening signals understanding. Avoid coercive tactics, exaggeration, or manipulation. Influence that is genuine is reinforced by ethical intent, transparency, and empathy. People feel it, respond to it, and carry it forward voluntarily. Remember, influence is not about winning arguments. It is about inspiring alignment, understanding, and action. It is about creating impact without sacrificing connection or authenticity. Influence is the bridge between communication and transformation, the channel through which ideas become shared vision and intentions become collaborative action. As you move forward, consider the layers we have explored: clarity in words, emotional intelligence, conflict navigation, and now influence. These elements combined create a communication framework that is intentional, powerful, and human-centered. Influence amplifies everything else. It allows your presence, your words, and your understanding to ripple outward, leaving impact that is both profound and lasting. The next chapter will explore the art of persuasion, negotiation, and alignment, the tools to transform ideas into action while maintaining respect, authenticity, and trust. Influence is the river. Persuasion is the careful shaping of its path. Together, they turn conversation into impact, connection into collaboration, and understanding into transformation. True influence is never forceful. It flows gently, yet powerfully, shaping outcomes, inspiring growth, and fostering deep connection. As we move into the next chapter, prepare to discover how to harness this power intentionally, ethically, and effectively, so that your words and presence can create meaningful change in every aspect of your life. Chapter 9. Persuasion and Alignment. Transforming understanding into action. Picture a masterful conductor standing before an orchestra. With subtle movements, he guides hundreds of instruments, each unique and powerful, into harmony. One gesture, and tension turns into rhythm. One glance, and hesitation becomes confidence. This is the essence of persuasion, not force, not coercion, but the ability to guide diverse perspectives into aligned action. Persuasion transforms understanding into tangible outcomes, while alignment ensures that the path taken resonates with values, intentions, and shared purpose. Too often, people see persuasion as a tool of manipulation, a way to bend others to their will. But authentic persuasion is the opposite. It is grounded in integrity, empathy, and clarity. It begins with listening, understanding, and connecting. You cannot influence what you do not comprehend, and you cannot inspire action without aligning with the deeper motivations and values of the people you wish to reach. The foundation of persuasion is trust. Trust is earned through consistency, transparency, and demonstrated care. People follow and act not because they are told to, but because they feel safe, respected, and understood. Consider a teacher guiding a student, a leader motivating a team, or a friend offering advice. The words themselves are secondary to the trust that allows those words to take root. Without it, even the clearest arguments fall flat. Alignment is the second pillar. It is the recognition that each person has unique perspectives, priorities, and desires. Persuasion becomes effective when you honor these differences and find the intersection between their needs and the objectives you hope to achieve. Alignment does not mean compromise at the expense of integrity. It means creating a shared pathway where all parties see value, purpose, and meaning in the outcome. Imagine a workplace scenario. A manager wants the team to adopt a new process. Rather than issuing directives, the manager begins by understanding the team's challenges, listening to their concerns, and exploring their goals. Then, by connecting the benefits of the new process to the team's values, efficiency, clarity, personal growth, the manager persuades not through command, but through alignment. The result is commitment, not compliance. The team acts willingly because they see themselves in the vision. Persuasion also requires clarity of communication. Your message must be precise, compelling, and authentic. Avoid vague appeals or abstract ideals. Instead, articulate the rationale, the benefits, and the implications in a way that resonates with the audience's perspective. Storytelling becomes a powerful ally here. Stories evoke emotion, provide context, and allow people to internalize concepts. Naturally, a narrative engages the heart, while information engages the mind. Together, they inspire action. Empathy remains a critical ingredient. Notice hesitation, doubts, or unspoken concerns. Address them with understanding, not dismissal. Ask questions that illuminate, statements that acknowledge, and guidance that empowers. Persuasion devoid of empathy often triggers resistance. Persuasion with empathy fosters curiosity, reflection, and willingness to consider new possibilities. Timing, too, is crucial. Persuasive moments are most effective when the audience is receptive, when emotions are balanced, attention is focused, and context is aligned. Pressing ideas into resistant minds only breeds defensiveness. Influence and persuasion flourish in environments of openness, readiness, and mutual respect. Another vital aspect is leading by example. People are persuaded more by what they see than what they hear. Integrity in action, walking the talk, demonstrating values, and modeling behavior creates resonance that words alone cannot achieve. Alignment naturally follows when actions reflect principles. Leadership through example is the silent yet most compelling form of persuasion. Consider personal relationships, whether encouraging a friend to pursue a dream, guiding a child toward responsibility, or fostering understanding with a partner. Persuasion rooted in respect, empathy, and alignment is transformative. It shifts interactions from conflict or indifference to engagement and collaboration. Influence is no longer about convincing. It is about inspiring, and action arises from genuine motivation rather than obligation. Persuasion also thrives on shared vision. When people see themselves as part of a larger purpose, their actions align naturally. Frame goals not as abstract directives, but as meaningful outcomes that touch shared values, aspirations, and potential. Alignment converts understanding into commitment, and commitment fuels consistent action. Finally, practice reflection. After every persuasive interaction, ask, did my approach honor the other person's perspective? Did it create understanding, or simply impose my view? Did it inspire curiosity, motivation? Reflection refines skill, deepens insight, and strengthens the capacity to persuade ethically and effectively over time. As we prepare to transition into the final chapter, remember that persuasion and alignment are the culmination of all previous skills: listening, empathy, emotional intelligence, conflict navigation, and influence. They transform understanding into action, connection into collaboration, and conversation into tangible, meaningful results. The next chapter will bring all these elements together, showing you how to communicate with mastery in every area of your life, leaving a lasting impact wherever you go. Persuasion, when rooted in trust, empathy, and alignment, becomes a force for positive change. It empowers rather than coerces, inspires rather than demands, and builds bridges rather than walls. With these principles, your words, presence, and actions carry purpose, clarity, and transformative power. Chapter 10: Mastery of Communication, Your Path to Lasting Impact. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast forest, just as the sun rises, golden light spilling across the canopy. Every tree, every leaf, every whisper of wind holds potential, a story waiting to be understood. Communication is like this forest, rich, alive, intricate, and infinitely powerful. It shapes the way we connect, the relationships we nurture, and the influence we leave behind. Today, we bring together everything we've explored: the listening, the empathy, the clarity, the influence, the persuasion, into a complete vision of mastery. Mastery of communication is not about speaking the loudest or winning the most arguments. It is about presence. It is about being fully engaged, fully aware, and fully intentional in every interaction. When you communicate with mastery, your words, your tone, and your energy resonate with truth, integrity, and purpose. People do not just hear you, they feel you, they trust you. They are moved, inspired, and empowered by the authenticity you carry. Every chapter of our journey has prepared you for this moment. We began by exploring the foundations, clarity of thought and self-awareness. We learned that understanding ourselves is the first step toward understanding others. When you know your values, intentions, and emotions, you can communicate without confusion, hesitation, or misalignment. Authenticity becomes your anchor. We delved into listening, the art of hearing beyond words, noticing emotions, and sensing unspoken truths. Listening is not passive. It is an active, dynamic practice that creates trust, empathy, and connection. It allows you to respond with depth rather than reaction, guiding conversations with intention rather than impulse. We explored emotional intelligence and the navigation of conflict, understanding that every challenge is an opportunity to communicate with grace and wisdom. Masterful communication transforms tension into understanding, disagreement into dialogue, and disagreement into growth. It is a skill rooted in awareness, patience, and respect. Influence and persuasion followed, teaching us how to guide without forcing, to inspire without manipulating, and to align understanding with action. True mastery comes not from dominance or authority, but from the ability to create resonance where others voluntarily engage, act, and collaborate because they see clarity, purpose, and shared vision. Now imagine integrating all of these elements into every facet of your life. In personal relationships, mastery allows you to express love, compassion, and understanding with depth and sincerity. Misunderstandings dissolve because your words are chosen carefully, your attention is present, and your intention is clear. Conflicts are resolved not with volume or control, but with insight, empathy, and creative problem-solving. In professional life, mastery creates influence and leadership that inspires. Teams respond to clarity, alignment, and integrity. Colleagues respect your perspective because it is grounded in understanding and consistent action. Projects move forward because communication transforms abstract goals into shared vision. Meetings, presentations, and collaborations are no longer exercises in obligation. They become opportunities for connection, creativity, and progress. Every conversation you have becomes a ripple. Each word, gesture, and tone influences not just the immediate moment, but the trajectory of relationships, opportunities, and outcomes. Mastery is not a single achievement. It is a continuous practice, a daily commitment to refine, deepen, and elevate how you interact with the world. Consider the power of reflection. After each interaction, pause to ask yourself, did I communicate with clarity? Did I listen fully? Did I honor the other person's perspective? Did my words and actions align with my principles? Reflection is the compass that guides mastery, allowing you to learn from every experience and continually elevate your skill. Mastery also requires courage. It demands vulnerability, the willingness to speak honestly, to acknowledge mistakes, and to express authentic emotion. Vulnerability fosters connection, trust, and influence. People respond not to perfection, but to sincerity. To communicate with mastery is to embrace imperfection while striving for authenticity, consistency, and meaningful impact. Visualization can strengthen your practice. Picture yourself entering a conversation fully present, calm, and focused. Imagine your words landing with clarity, your tone radiating warmth, your listening creating openness. Feel the alignment of your intentions and actions, the resonance of trust and respect. This is not an abstract exercise. It is a mental rehearsal for living every interaction with intention, awareness, and grace. The final truth of communication mastery is this: it is a gift. The ability to express, connect, influence, and inspire is among the most profound contributions you can offer the world. Your words can heal, motivate, clarify, and empower. Your presence can calm, reassure, and guide. Mastery transforms ordinary interactions into extraordinary opportunities for connection, understanding, and transformation. As you close this chapter and this audiobook, carry with you the understanding that mastery is not a destination, but a journey. Every conversation is a step forward. Every interaction is a chance to practice presence, empathy, clarity, influence, and alignment. The forest of communication is vast, but with intentional practice, awareness, and care, you can move through it with grace, purpose, and lasting impact. Step into your life now with the confidence that your words and actions matter. Speak with clarity, listen with empathy, influence with integrity, persuade with alignment, live with authenticity. Your communication is your legacy, and mastery is the path to leaving it with intention, depth, and beauty. The journey ends here, yet it begins anew with every interaction you have, every connection you nurture, and every word you choose. Take this knowledge, these principles, and this awareness into the world, and let your communication become the bridge to understanding, the catalyst for transformation, and the gift that touches lives long after the conversation ends.